Good, how are you?
Doing all right. So two kind of quick basketball questions for you. When you look around the W, it feels like we see more split cuts and teams running variations of it across the league. They get into it in different ways. How have you seen it grow effective to teams that either want to switch more or like to be aggressive in their off-ball coverages?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a part of the evolution of the game. A lot more off-ball action. You see teams that run heavy off-ball action or teams that run heavy on-ball action. And I think the ones who are somewhere in the middle are usually pretty effective. And it's hard to guard splits when you're switching, because if you don't come together, you leave openings for slips to the rim. And teams that get really good at that, there are certain players that are really good at it. They keep you off balance, and they open up opportunities for themselves or for their teammates.
And then the other one for you, with inverted pick and rolls, with the variation or the multitude of different screeners in that smaller, sometimes closer to like size, how do you see that kind of putting pressure on the defense?
I think more than anything, it shows the versatility of players in our league. When you have bigs that you can run inverted pick and rolls for, it can create matchup problems. It can draw 2-to-1. It can open up shooters. It can do a various amount of things. And so, I think it's more that you start thinking about the versatility of players than who's actually setting the screen. Who's the ball handler? What are they able to do with it? And then which matchup do you want in that pick and roll?
Coach, just curious, what makes Alyssa so unique to game plan against?
I mean, a couple of things. One, she's a point guard in a power forward's body. I mean, she's got a point guard mentality. She anticipates really well. Her passes are always on time, on target. They're right on the money. And she's got the physicality of a big and the ball handling of a guard as well. So I think the hard thing about AT is that she's so smart. She knows how to read so well that you've got to mix up the looks. You've got to try to keep her off balance as much as you can. But she anticipates just as well offensively as she does defensively. And so that makes it really tough.
Yeah, just with Keith rupturing his Achilles, just first off, how are his spirits? And secondly, with him having such a large on-court presence with the players, just how are you guys adjusting to that in practice pregame?
Well, his spirits are good. I mean, Keith is just one of those guys that's always happy, and he's a very faithful guy, and so his spirits are good. I think it's an adjustment right now because he's not on the floor, but eventually once he gets through surgery, he'll be back on. But you still are going to hear his voice. It's just like if one of us got hurt, you're still going to hear his voice. He's still going to be there. He's still going to be given the tips. And as soon as he can, he's going to be back on the floor making passes. He might not be, D'ing somebody up or out on the court playing with physicality. But, his voice is still a presence.
How have you seen Aaliyah's game progress and also playing with Natasha?
Yeah, I think for AB, we've seen her in so many different roles. In college, predominantly back to the basket. Her rookie year, predominantly back to the basket. And then you get her playing with C, and you see her so much in the pick and roll. And I think we're adding to her game this year, just using her as a hub and facilitating as much as being able to score. I think with Tosh on the floor, and Tosh is a really good cutter. So being able to try to free up some space for AB with that. It's been challenging, though, for AB because she's been the one I believe is most affected by all of our injuries. You have Sophie and C and Lexi on the floor, and the way that they space it for her allows her to go to work. You have Ari, who's able to get downhill and find her in drop action. Sid really understanding the nuance of how to get a big the ball and being that true point guard. And so when you're missing all of those guys on the floor, we've almost had to try to reinvent how we get AB touches. Sometimes it's more successful than others. But her leadership has continued to improve. I think her passing, she's a real instinctual, high IQ player. Her passing continues to improve as well.
Steph, the resiliency we've seen from your group this year, do you feel like that is just kind of innate within this group, or is it a byproduct of how much they've worked at it?
I think a little bit of both. I think first and foremost, when you have great people who are selfless and who really put the team first, I think it's easy to root for one another. It's easy to encourage one another when it has to be that quote unquote like next player up mentality. They have weathered storms. They're not a group that that disperses when things are challenging. They come together. And I think that that's an advantage, number one, just because of the nature of who they are. I think the second thing is that we just, we understand that there are ebbs and flows in a season. And I think culturally, the ability of our group to withstand that is growing strong roots. There's no doubt about it. I think, from a staff standpoint and from a player standpoint, it's you just put one foot in front of the other and you find a way. Everybody in this league goes through injuries at some point. I've never, in my 25 years in this league, seen all of this at once. But we also know that we have opportunity in front of us. And, we have players that have come in that needed an opportunity and that are showing what they can do because they've stayed ready and they didn't have to get ready. As coaches and as teammates, putting them in position to be successful is how we become successful. And I think our team has really embraced that.
Cool.
Thank you.